Dean, you believe in God, and I'm not going to let you off the hook with the problem of evil, because anyone who believes in God has to deal with evil. So the question is this. You know evil exists. You believe this is God's world. So why is evil necessary, number one? And if you can give me an argument with why evil is necessary, I got to hear how you can defend why so much evil is so necessary.
I can say something about why some evil might be necessary, some evil of the kinds that we see around us. And I take it by evil, you just mean bad things, things that we wouldn't expect, given a God who's perfectly good, all-powerful, all-knowing, not a bumbler. Mm-hmm. So I think there are very, very reasonable things, plausible things to say about why there's some. Why the amounts and the kinds and the particular patches of awfulness that we see. Many of those, I wouldn't begin to try to say exactly why they exist, and I'd sound monstrous if I started to. But as far as the certain kinds of evil, I think we can see good reasons for them. We can see reasons why there would be some ignorance, some weakness of will, some pain and struggle, and some failures to get good things that we want. All of these things can serve purposes that you couldn't get without them. The question, why so much, is, I think, a different and much, much harder question.
I've been through many struggles, and I've grown by them, so I can appreciate that those were necessary for character building, for courage, for persistence, and all sorts of things. But those are not so much evil. I wouldn't call those evil. I'd call that struggle, and that's good. But when you deal with evil, I mean, we can talk about children who die from pain or torture without any redemption whatsoever. They achieve nothing in their world other than pain and misery and death, and we see it every day.
Yeah, so there's plenty of just horrible things that seem unredeemed. Right. Unused by God or anybody else for any purpose that couldn't be achieved without them. And I think anyone who believes in a good God who's behind this world has got to think that the world is much bigger than it appears to be. That the suffering of the children that is like the suffering in Dostoevsky's story of the Grand Inquisitor, the tortured innocents. We have to think that this isn't what it seems, that it's horrible and we must try to stop it, but that when it isn't stopped, God is able somehow to redeem it, and in ways that we don't understand. Now maybe we can begin to grasp it by thinking about the fact that God suffers along with us. If we believe in a God that suffers with us, that may be some help. But I think ultimately that kind of suffering remains terribly mysterious and has to be counted as good reasons why people don't believe in God.
For God to suffer, if I'm suffering, or if when children die from cancers or tortures or war without any apparent redemption for themselves, and God is suffering along with them, I mean that doesn't seem like an all-powerful God. It seems like a sympathetic God. Is that what the world is, or must you not have to postulate some sort of an afterlife in order to make the whole thing make sense? And if you don't have an afterlife, you cannot make the world make sense if you believe in God.
I would agree with that. Without an afterlife, we can't even begin to make sense of bad things that seem to happen with no payoff, so to speak. Now, one thing that may help somewhat is that we can see how, as you said, in our own lives, very, very bad things can prove to be necessary for very, very good things. And necessary not just in the sense that, well, I wouldn't have met so-and-so, I wouldn't have met my spouse if I hadn't had that car accident.
Yeah.
Well, God could have just introduced me to my spouse at a cocktail party or something and skipped the accident altogether. But developing genuinely moral virtues of courage, as you say, and so on, these are things that are developed in the course of trial and difficulty. And if God just gave them to us, it would be good, but these wouldn't be distinctively moral virtues. So I think we can see how some struggle, pain, difficulty, and so on does lead us to distinctively moral virtues that wouldn't be moral virtues if they weren't developed in that way. Now, in the case of the child, or in the case of sentient animals, we got to worry about them too. It's very hard to see how this could play itself out. Now, I don't know what to say about the animals, but in the case of the child, if you believe in an afterlife, then just as the pain and suffering that I experience can play a role in something that I would not, in the end, wish away from my life. So perhaps the child who suffers at the hands of an evil person may ultimately, in being able to forgive this person and understand that God suffers with them, this may ultimately not be something they would wish away from their life. Now that people are going to say, oh, that's just a pious hope, and I suppose that's what it is. But it's a hope that I hold on to.